A 60-year-old story Sheikh Hamdan never told anyone. Poetry English. A quiet truth rises from the soft dunes of memory. A story older than the whispers of the desert wind. A tale that breathes in the hidden corners of his heart. For there was a woman 60 years in her walk, yet timeless in the grace she carried like dawn upon her skin. He never spoke of her to the courts. He never placed her name in the circle of royal talk. For some truths are not born to echo in crowded halls. Some truths live only in the spaces where the soul listens. And this woman was one of those truths, a secret shaped not by fear, but by reverence. She was not a queen of kingdoms. She was a queen of moments. Her presence calm like a shoreline, her gaze deep like a well kept for only the thirsty, her silence full like the sky before rain. And he, Sheikh Hamdan, the rider of storms, the poet of modern sands, he found in her a peace he could not name. She had lived 6 decades, yet her steps were lighter than those half her age. Life had carved no bitterness in her. Only wisdom, only quiet light, only a softness that refused to fade. He met her not in a palace, but in a place where destiny had softened its pace, where time listened instead of marching. He approached with the stride of a prince, yet she greeted him with the gentleness of a teacher. And though the world knew him as the young royal heart, she saw only the boy behind the crown, the soul longing to be understood. Not admired, not praised, understood. She spoke to him as if years were rivers, and she had sailed all of them. Her voice smooth like shaded sunlight, her words steady like the earth. She told him stories of people, of losses, of endurance, of love that chooses to stay, even when the world does not. He listened, not because she was enchanting, but because truth has a sound, and her truth drew him in like gravity. Every sentence she shared held a world. Every pause felt like an invitation. To walk deeper into the heart she guarded with dignity. The royal world measured beauty in youth, but he measured beauty in depth. He saw in her the elegance of someone who has lived, who has walked through storms, but never allowed them to change her sky. Her 60 years were not a weight. They were wings. She taught him that strength can be silent, that a heart grows wiser, not older. She showed him that gentleness is not weakness, that love does not follow age. It follows truth. And truth is never young or old. It simply is. There were nights when he would return from duties, carrying the heaviness of responsibility, and her words, unhurried and warm, would settle around him like a shawl, a comfort woven not of fabric, but of presence, a presence that asked for nothing, yet gave everything. She guided him without touching his crown. She uplifted him without stepping into the light. She cared for him without asking who he was, for she knew and still chose to stay in simplicity, a choice many younger hearts would never make. He never told this story, because some stories are too sacred to be spoken. The story continued in the silent folds of his days, a memory he carried like a treasured map, leading him back to the woman whose years shone brighter than the jewels in any royal chamber. She was 60 in the count of seasons, but endless in the language of the soul. He found himself returning to her presence, not because he needed answers, but because she made questions softer. Life around him moved fast, full of expectations, full of noise. Yet when he stepped into her world, everything shifted. Everything slowed into meaning. Her home was simple, filled with the warmth of living, not the glitter of display. She kept old books, clay cups, threads of memories woven into every corner. And when he sat there, he felt like he was stepping inside a prayer, a quiet offering held in the palm of time. She brewed tea the way stories are brewed, patiently, allowing each leaf to surrender its essence. And he, the prince who traveled across continents, felt humbled by the way she served it. Her hand steady, her gaze calm, her presence unshaken. She told him that youth is a traveler, but age is a destination, and those who reach it with grace hold treasures no coin can buy. He listened to her, not as a royal, but as a seeker, yearning for the wisdom she carried so effortlessly. There were afternoons when sunlight spilled through her window, and she would speak of love that does not demand, of loyalty that does not shout, of humanity that does not boast. Her voice floated like soft rain, watering the quiet places of his heart, places he did not show to the world. He realized she was teaching him without teaching, guiding him without instruction. She was the lighthouse, and he was the ship seeking direction, not because he was lost, but because every soul needs a place where truth appears without secrets. People around him often measured worth in youth, in appearance, in rank, in applause, but she measured worth in how softly a person speaks, how deeply they listen, how gently they treat the world. Her 60 years were stitched with stories, not of luxury, but of courage, of heartbreaks endured, of miracles observed, of moments that shaped her into a quiet force that even time bowed to. One evening she shared a memory of standing alone in a difficult season, when life offered her no hand, no comfort. Yet she rose from it, not as someone broken, but as someone transformed. He felt the strength of her spirit, a strength carried not on the face, but in the heart, and he began to understand why she meant so much to him. She reminded him of the truth beneath the crown, the young man who longed for sincerity, for humility, for connection beyond titles, beyond expectations, beyond the walls built around him. Her words became his refuge. Her lessons became his quiet power. He would leave her home each time, carrying something invisible, a peace that stayed with him, a grounding that protected him, even in the loudest royal gatherings. There were moments when he wished he could tell the world about her, the woman who saw him as a human. Not. The story reached its quiet horizon, not an ending, but a resting place where memory becomes light, where truth becomes gentle, where love becomes something beyond language. For the bond between him and the 60-year-old woman had grown into a sanctuary he carried within. There came a time when the world pulled him heavier than before, duties rising like tall waves, responsibilities stretching from dawn to dusk, eyes watching him, voices echoing around him, expectations threading tightly around his days. And in those moments he would close his eyes and find her presence breathing softly in his thoughts, a calm that steadied him, a warmth that awaited him like a home. He would visit her whenever time allowed, stepping into that humble space where age was not counted, where titles dissolved, where his heart could be simple and unguarded. She welcomed him with the same grace, the same stillness, the same understanding that did not need words. Sometimes they spoke, sometimes they sat in silence. Yet both forms of togetherness felt full. Her silence was not empty. Her silence held answers. It held compassion. It held the wisdom of someone who had walked far and still chose softness over hardness. She told him once that every soul has two lives, the life the world sees and the life the heart lives. She said the second life is where truth grows, where love breathes, where the real self awakens. And he understood that she lived from that second life, a life beyond illusion, beyond applause, beyond fear. Her 60 years had shaped her into a guide, not by intention, but by nature. She did not try to teach him, yet every moment with her became a lesson, a reminder, a reflection, a gentle mirror held before him. He started to notice changes within himself. He spoke more softly, listened more deeply, carried patience like a quiet flame. He embraced understanding instead of judgment, compassion instead of pride. She had not asked him to evolve, yet her presence made him want to become someone better, someone truer, someone who could honor the wisdom she offered without effort. There was an evening unlike any other, a sunset pouring gold across the city, a silence resting over the desert. He found her seated outside, watching the slow glow fade, her face calm, her eyes holding stories he would never fully know. He sat beside her, and for a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, she said that every connection born from truth becomes eternal. Not in years, but in meaning. She said some people arrive in life as gifts, not to stay forever, but to change something within us, something we could never change alone. He felt a heaviness inside, a soft ache that rose from the fear of losing her. But she smiled, a tender smile woven with acceptance. She said that love does not end. Even when presence fades, it becomes part of the soul, a quiet guardian that walks with us through every path. And like all journeys shaped by time, there came a day when she was not there, her home still warm with memory, her chair still carrying the imprint of her.